your 7th, 8th, ninth, 10th, or 11th favorite reality TV recap podcast. That's right. It's Bloody Day Fiance. My name is Michelle, erstwhile of London, England, and presently of Los Angeles, California. With me today is my person. How are you today, Jack?
I'm doing well. Erstwhile from New York City, denizen of Los Angeles for several years, actually almost a decade, which is off-putting in some ways to me. But how are we doing today? We're doing well. It is it's a hot and humid day. We got to take a nice walk earlier and walk through some nice blowing dust of leaves. You could call it leaves. You could call it taking a vacuum to dirt and swirling it in on the street.
But it's like a reverse vacuum. Like that's what I can't get behind. Like, first of all, you're in a place where admittedly, yeah, there are dead leaves, but it's not like autumn leaves. Like, it's not like where we're from, where it actually becomes a problem
Are you
and
talking
piles
about
up.
the beautiful northeast of the United States?
I am.
Yeah, we don't get the same way. It's not, I mean, look, it's August and there's a leaf blower outside, so, that's going to be a lot of dead things getting swirled around, which, you know, there's good and bad here in SoCal.
I just don't. I fundamentally don't understand it. I just think, in London, we have street sweepers, like the things that look like Zambonis that actually like clean
Oh, we have those in New York.
the sidewalk, right? Yeah.
Okay, but tell me this, because in New York, those street sweeper Zamboni things basically they just kind of like spread the muck around. Do they have a better version of this in London?
Maybe it's an unfair comparison to make because it doesn't rain 70% of the time.
Yes, that's a big difference is that there's nothing that washes away, so it just sort of like decays in place.
See, DC's very clean. And always was when I was growing up. I don't know. I can't
Insert
speak to
your
the state
own
of it
political
now.
joke to Michelle saying DC is clean.
All right. It's the cleanest swamp you'll ever see.
Fair
How about
enough.
that?
Fair enough.
Um, yeah, it's the futility of blowing dust from one place to another. Like, they blow the dust into the street, a car comes by, even one car blows the dust back onto the sidewalk.
Now, the way I see it is I think that they're hired by one house, and it's like, can you just get the dust across the street to that house so it's not our problem? You did experience today, though, which is that if you look nicely at the person whose job it is to blow the dust around and you kind of make a face of like, I'm going to get dust all over me, they actually will smile and stop for a second. So, there is some learned behavior here in Los Angeles.
I mean, that just seems like a basic professional courtesy to me, but
Oh, it is. But if let's say you were that person doing the job and someone made like a horrible face at you, you might be like, well, I'm just going to keep blowing the air in the same direction. You smiled, you were pleasant, and the gentleman stopped.
And speaking of blowing dirt from one side of the room to another,
What an intro.
should we get started? Is this the debut of your haircut? Or no, you and Diana recorded yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, this is the debut of my washed hair that hasn't had any product put back into it. But I think
I think it looks really good.
thank you.
I'm getting my hair cut on Friday, so I'll be anxious to hear what the viewers on our Patreon think. Patreon.com/Blighty Day Fiance. Blighty is spelled Blighty. For just $5 a month, you get all our coverage, all killer, no filler, with no ads, plus a bonus episode. And at the $10 a month tier, you get video, which can be very entertaining, particularly when there's 3 of us on and, we do fun impressions and stuff like that. And then at the $15 tier, you can choose the bonus episode. I think that's it for all the shillin'.
We are
What
we are
else?
loaded with releases this week that are coming out. So if we forgot anything, we will be sure to.
Yes, and thank you for your patience. We are in the shadow of a Mercury retrograde coming up, and we've been unpleasantly surprised with a few disruptions to our normal programming this week. We are going to do everything we can to get everything out to you. It just might not be in the traditional order, but we are working hard. Operators are standing by. DM us, email us if you have any questions. If you want to help support our show and you haven't got the money to spare, fear not. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. At least 4 stars would help us a lot. 5 is even better, but I don't want to uh, ask for more than I'm owed here.
I'll ask for what I'm owed, which is listeners, I've had such a great time getting to know everybody, getting some more engagement in the Facebook group, which is something I have longed for. Go on there if you don't mind. Give us some 5 stars. It actually, I know you always hear this on every podcast. It actually does really help us, and it does help spread our reach. Leaving out the nonsensical algorithmic discussion, it is a thing. And if you like us and want other people to hear us, 5 stars really helps.
On the other hand, if you think this is the most boring podcast you've ever listened to, I might invite you to keep your opinion to yourself.
Or if that's your opinion, feel free to contact me directly. Oh, we have fun.
All right. Let's go. Let's start with Corona and Inky. Now,
And forgive me if you did this. Did you introduce the show and title?
oh no, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I
You're
was
coming
benched
back.
yesterday.
Yes, you
For those of
were.
you who Diana bravely took my spot, and they covered the finale of 90 Day Fiance UK. So please check that out. That is our, um, yeah, that's our, I don't know, home station show. I'm having trouble talking today. I'm still not completely recovered, to be totally honest with you. So this is sure to be a wild ride.
I just want to give a blanket note to everybody. Just if Michelle seems at all off her game, it is a reaction to the intense heat of LA in the end of July, early August.
Probably also the intense volume of the diarrhea that I've been experiencing and the intense dehydration that accompanies both those things.
We're trying real hard in this house to keep everyone hydrated, but it's a battle. It's a battle. Now, just curious, who's the most dehydrated of this group today that we're talking about?
Wow. What a great question. I'm going to leave that for the listeners to ponder on and, maybe maybe we can have a poll in the Facebook group.
Ooh, that's
I
a good
feel
one.
like that's a better question for HEA, which we're leaving till the end of this week. So today we've got Your Toe, 90 Day the Other Way, season 6, episode 5, High Infidelity.
See what they did there with
So
the
we're
movie
sticking
title?
with titles of rom-coms. Did they do that last season? I feel weirdly like they did. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've said it before and I've said it again. Love Corona, love her for this show. She is perfect casting, and this is exactly the kind of couple that I live for on shows like this. Just two people who could not be more different in their demeanors, their attitudes, their energy levels, their cultural backgrounds, their understandings of love and romance.
May I also throw in their difference in levels of excitement to see one another?
Yes. I don't know how many comrades I have in this particular battle, but I have, let's say, a relative whose expectations of excitement levels and enthusiasm are uh, oppressive. And I always want to make this relative of mine happy. I always want her to know how much I appreciate her and how grateful I am. But like, I literally can't do enough. And having an autistic relative has been the bane of her life, because I can't offer kind of a crazy expression when I'm opening a gift or when I'm, I don't know, meeting somebody at the airport. It's just, I just don't do those things unless I'm on stage. Um, because I don't know what to do with my face most of the time.
I think you do a good job with your face most of the
Jack
time.
has seen some cute baby pictures of me where I'm kind of like, I'm doing a bizarre, like I'm showing my teeth, but I'm not really smiling kind of a thing because I don't understand what smiling is per
It's
se.
an
Or
adorable picture. If everyone's really nice, maybe Michelle will share it, at least in the Facebook group.
yeah, I think I can do that. So look, she is bouncing out of this red eye flight like she has wings on her feet.
Now, did she sprout wings? Did she have any Red Bull, or is this like totally natural?
I feel like if she added caffeine to her normal disposition, then her normal energy levels, then Inky would have had to peel her off the ceiling. I'm surprised he hasn't had to do that already. Um, You know what? I thought this was a lovely introduction. He brought her real flowers. If these are gas station flowers, then I'd love to see the selection of food and drink in gas stations in Iceland, because these were lovely, lovely, subtle, classy bouquet of
And
roses.
it was a mix. We had red, pink, maybe peach or white, something going on there. It was a nice mix.
This was not enough for Corona. She says, and I quote, "What I expected was a big romantic gesture, and what I got was how I reckon he kisses his grandma."
Now, granted, look, on that point, the kiss, it was not a romantic kiss. It was a peck on the mouth. But what I find really strange about Corona's take, and maybe look, I mean, it's her take from her own point of view, of course, but all we've heard is how Inky has no history with women, no relationships. So, Corona, why would you expect Inky to have some sort of grand gesture? He did the best he could. I mean, that was my read of it.
I also think, I mean, I can't speak to the Icelandic culture
Hmm.
specifically, but I don't know that every culture is about grand gestures at airports or even public displays of affection. I'm not sure that that's the case. I mean, when you picked me up at the airport, we were meeting for the first time in person,
Yes.
and I think we had, a friendly collegiate embrace,
I
is
mean,
what
I
I remember.
now you're leaving one part out though. I did do the famous Asuelu dance for you as you were entering. I just wanted to make you comfortable, And I heard you told me, you said, gigantic gesture that puts a giant spotlight on me as I'm in an airport. You said that was your favorite thing.
No, I said my favorite thing was to be left waiting an hour and a half in an unfamiliar airport, in like heat that I hadn't experienced in like 5 years. That's what I wanted, and you so graciously offered me.
Are you really going to make our first meeting sound like some sort of hellscape? Oh, excuse me, like some sort of purgatory hell?
Hell. I'm just saying LAX is the most confusing airport in the world. And for the amount of people who go in and who travel in and out of it, I'm stunned. I don't if I couldn't read or understand English, I would be at a total loss. That airport is so goddamn confusing.
But at least when you get out, and I encourage anyone to go zoom into LAX on Google Maps if you'd like to. I think what Michelle really liked is after getting through the labyrinthian like airport of Bradley International Airport, LAX, The really fun thing is you get out, and then there's about 6 lanes of heavy traffic that all merge into one lane when you're exiting the airport, which is, in a town like LA, it just makes a lot of sense.
It's a giant leap from early morning pre-sunrise Reykjavik. That is for sure. So they
And
pile
pre-sunrise now, let's just be clear, that's about 9:45 a.m.
yes. Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
which is similar to what it is in England in the dead of
And I
winter.
don't. I want to let you go on here, but I'm just curious. What time of year do we think this is, based on that? Inky says the days are getting longer. Is that what he was saying?
Yeah, so I guess it's coming into summer, spring, right? Because
Yeah,
that's the I don't know if we're quite in the land of the midnight sun there, but
I think a
we're
little
getting there.
south of that, and then it looks there's still snow on the ground, but it's Iceland. So I don't know. This could be like March, April, something like
Yeah.
that.
Um so again, I don't want to go beat for beat, but there are in the Corona and Inki's section, there are so many little moments that I think speak volumes.
For
So I'm not going
sure.
to pick on every little thing. I really hate it when someone describes someone else as their person. Um, and this was like moment number 5 between meeting and getting to the house, where she's sort of dropping a hint that she wants some kind of reciprocity from him. But I don't think that my person is a universal phrase that everyone understands to mean the same thing. I mean,
Now, I just want to. I'm curious about that. Do you mean culturally, like as an American might say, "You're my person"? Is that maybe translating differently to Inky? Do you think?
yeah, I think you're my person could be you're the person who picked me up at the airport, or you're the person I intend to live with, or you're the person who's giving me a ride. I don't think he's sort of thinking like I think if she had said you're my galaxy or whatever James and Tatha were saying to each other, like soulmate, universe, all of that stuff. I think that has a very specific connotation, but I don't think it's fair to talk about how blasé the vibe is when he's not picking up on these, like what I consider to be pretty.
No, that's a. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's just you're making a really good point because I didn't when I was watching it. Yeah, the "that's my person" thing. It's just it sounds irritating, and also it's like, is he? We don't know. That's what we're seeing. But what you just explained really helps me kind of size up Inky, because I was like, what's his problem? Like, I mean, he is like a little lower on this, but "you're my person" could be really confusing. Like, what does that mean? If she said "you're my lobster," would he know what that means? That's like from Lisa Kudrow on Friends, and also the Colin Farrell movie The Lobster, really good. But I don't know that any of those, like you're saying, "you're my world," "you're my everything," "you're my galaxy," "you're my universe," any of those descriptors might have helped Inky to match Corona's level.
You're my invisible person that lives in the hill.
"You're my hills have eyes."
Yeah, that's a little in joke into Icelandic folklore for those of you who are interested. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about that stuff. And on a day when we have more time, I might go into that a bit more. Um,
Yes.
so here's the apartment, here's the home. Already there are things to complain about. Corona shares that it's a trigger for her for people to make promises and not follow up on them. On the one hand, I don't think it's a promise that you can hold someone to sort of precognate like how you want your closet to be laid out. Like I always think it's safer to let the person who is insistent about how these things are done
Hmm.
do it, right? Um
Well, when we were watching this, you were also saying, like, Okay, you want Inky to get the closet ready for a relationship. Fair, but we've already established Inky's never gotten a closet ready for a person of any kind. It doesn't sound like for a long term relative, house guest, or certainly not a significant other.
No,
So,
I don't. And also, needless to say, because this woman has more energy than I could ever hope to expend in my entire lifetime, all in the span of, 2 hours. She's got this, she is circling, rattling, eyes bugging, desperate for that dick. And I can look, I completely understand what that is. I totally relate to that. I've been in that position multiple times throughout my life, especially 35 and over. Um, I get it, right? And she is throwing that cat on the table and he is not picking it up. Um,
did you
what's your
take.
take on this,
Uh,
Jack?
so, I was just going to ask you, I will answer. So, I feel like Corona's taking this immediately as a referendum on how he feels about her, his attraction level to her. And I feel like, look, Corona seems to have a very fast paced brain. I think a lot's going on for her. Inky processes things slower. He seems to, not need to. Put all of his emotions out on display. I don't even know if he can. It doesn't seem like that's a part of his personality. Again, also a large piece of that may be culturally as well. And we'll learn more about Iceland hopefully going through this show. But to me, it's like I feel like Inky's just trying to. Okay, I'm seeing Corona again. Here we go. Let's see how this goes. And I just don't think he was ready for um, the energy level to be shot out of a cannon like that. I just he seemed off, and it seemed like it took him by surprise. And I think we're having a situation which, we see a lot in life and on these shows is, you know, Corona comes in, she has her feelings, and she's not giving Inky the time to process his before she's kind of going after him, like, why don't you have the response that I want? Give me the response, please. I need the response and the reassurance.
But she's not. That's the thing. She's internalizing all of that because she is soft partnering him.
Can you? I don't fucking understand what this is. It made me annoyed. I don't get it. So please, if you can enlighten me, Michelle.
Okay, so I believe that when she was explaining this approach before, um, Corona explained it as she is concerned about him, and these are her words that I'm paraphrasing.
Hmm.
This is not my perspective at all, necessarily, but um, she doesn't want to hit him with what she calls angry black woman energy.
Did she call it that?
I don't I don't I don't know. I can't swear up and down to
Oh,
that.
sorry, sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Sorry, sorry. I didn't mean specifically, but that's the thing. It seems like something she's trying to avoid is like
Right.
labels.
She's trying to be protective of him, but she's also like censoring herself, and she's feeling like he would automatically assume that she would, I guess, weaponize her race. So I don't agree with that to begin with.
Well,
I mean, it's not for me to say how she feels that she comes across.
no, I have a comment about that, but please go ahead. I'll come back to it.
Okay, I was just going to say I I don't agree that it's helpful in any way to like protect him or screen him from a part of her, from any of her anger or emotion. I don't understand that. But again, if she's been discriminated against in the past, or if she's been written out of a relationship she feels prematurely, if she's been discriminated against, maybe this is her way of trying to manage that or protect from that or counteract. But the soft approach of not criticizing or offering him even her point of view in a calm way is not something that I quite understand.
Yes. So no, I see what you're saying there. I feel like a large part of this is okay. So we have Corona bringing in her lived experiences and, traumas or traumatic things that have happened to her and all of that. She's bringing this in to this brand new experience in a brand new country in a place where she's jokingly said, there's like five black people there. So this feels like I don't know that Inky has like any sort of preconceived notion of, how Corona might be or anything. I think he's really just seen it from what I can see, what we're shown so far. It feels like he's taking Corona as Corona. And I feel like there's a lot of additional stuff coming in with Corona. And from what I was seeing, and, this plays out in action, so what I'm seeing is when we get to the home and we have Corona very upset that Inky has not made space in the closet for her. It's a sort of frantic energy that I can tell from looking at his face. Like I've dealt with a lot of frantic energy on my own part and with people I've been around. And as you get older and you figure stuff out about yourself, there's strategies you can do, right? Where, yeah, you might get frantic, but you kind of put it in an area where it's not coming out at the other person.
You're talking about like being anxious or agitated, not horny, right?
Well, if
I
you're,
just want to clarify, or
I
is it all
am.
part of the same
No, I don't
constellation?
think it's part of the same constellation because if you're horny, you're going to need a friend to help you out unless you're going on a solo mission there. And I don't think one flies to Reykjavik from Philadelphia to go on a solo mission. Just saying.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Um,
But I just wanted to say it was just about it's bringing all of that in there. And then, but at the same time, it seems thought out and thoughtful, or she's having these feelings. But then it's like, motherfucker, why didn't you move half your shit out of the closet and give me the closet? Could have been done in 2 seconds. And I said to you when we were watching it, 2 seconds what? For him to throw his shit on the floor and leave it like that? That's not realistic. That's not a realistic thing.
I have a feeling he doesn't clean this apartment. I feel like he does his laundry at his mom's house and then brings it back. And I think she
Oh.
comes in and I'm just
Little spick and
assuming.
span inside the
Yeah, I just don't,
house.
like, I don't know if but it's like what I said before. Corona is the person in the relationship who has a vision and a very specific way that she wants things to be organized. And my thought, if I'm just a rational person, is, you know what, I don't have a view on how this closet needs to be organized. She probably will, so it's something we can do together. She doesn't need to unpack this stuff like right away. I don't really. I Look, I love shoes. I don't have a lot to say about these. I've
Ver-
never
hey, even I liked her shoe collection. Really cool boots, good stuff.
I've just never been able to wear stuff like that because I'm too tall. And
We'll get you some flats, some Doc Martin flats. They're very popular.
God, no offense, just not for me. Um yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to say, and I'm sorry if I already said this again, I've little dehydrated, little still recovering from various illnesses, uh, is that she's approaching this relationship and his responses and his behavior very scientifically, and she's making lots of inferences based on what he does or doesn't do. And I think that's a dangerous thing to do, to assign meaning to every single one of his thoughts or actions. And I would be saying this about,
Or facial
yes,
expressions.
I would be saying, like, y'all, I don't think Inky lives a well-examined life. I don't think he thinks about I don't think he like thinks back to conversations that he's had and then like relitigates them and thinks about what he could have done differently. I don't think he's an anxious personality type. I don't think he's over analytical. I'm not saying he's unintelligent. I'm just saying I think he is blessed with one of those brains that just doesn't try to attack itself constantly.
That's really funny. I'm sorry, you're just making because you had a note here about like, hey, why couldn't you're not saying this, but this was something you said when we were watching it. Like, oh, why couldn't you like move the clothes out of the closet? Were you too busy playing D&D? Because we saw he does play Dungeons and Dragons with his buddies. When you just were talking about all of this, I just pictured him in the car. Like, what was he thinking about? He seemed like he might be somewhere else. He was thinking about like that move he made in D&D that cost him the game like 2 nights ago, and it's been stuck in his head to the point where like, yeah, Corona's here, but like, really wish I won that D&D game the other night.
I don't know about that. I think
Really?
he seems very pleasant to me and
Oh, I didn't mean
unencumbered
it
with
bad. I just mean if he holds on to anything, it's probably more like a D&D game thing than it is.
okay, yeah,
You know
I
what I'm
get that.
saying?
All
Okay.
right. Well, we've spoken about them for half an hour. So let's very quickly go through Shekinah and
Are you okay? I'll agree to do it quick this time. I know how much you love to like over index and spend a lot of time on these two, but I'll agree with you this week. We'll go through them pretty quick.
okay, so the first thing that we learn is that Sarper has always been a counter. He's in this scene they're meeting his cousin
Fasoon.
Fusoon, yeah, sorry. Um and Shekinah asks, has Sarper always been a counter like this? To which Sarper responds, 525,600 minutes. He does the
That's how many calories I have in a day.
um
What we do, and I just want to say, we do see something that I don't think shocked any of us, which is that, Sarper was not always the chiseled figurine that he has turned into. I was going to say figurine fit better. That hasn't always been how he is. And, like a lot of guys who, we see on these shows who build themselves up like this, it's to cover up this vision they have of themselves when they were younger, maybe prepubescent, maybe high school, as it was in Sarper's case.
you know
Where,
what I have to say though?
please,
No nuclear reactor, no being orphaned at an early age. This no spells in a mental institution of any
mm-hmm.
time, any kind. This is not a good villain origin story. This is something that happens to lots of men regardless of their physical appearance, that their first girlfriend cheats on them and then a parent dispenses some worldly wisdom, like you can't trust any women. um and Shekinah in a again and she's not a dummy, you guys. She says that very diplomatically that while it's not an excuse for his behavior, this does help her understand his perspective on women. Only moments before, the belly dancer, who I have to say, I'm sorry, this doesn't work when you have abs.
This is a routine occurrence on the 90-Day universe of belly dancers who don't have bellies and can't, and nothing is moving when they are doing their routine.
Yeah, I'm not really understanding what they're there for when they've just got like perfectly flat sculpted abs. And when Shekinah sort of, respectfully puts the boundary of, okay, that's not that's enough. We don't need to do that. Sarper's response is, but she dancing to me.
It's respect.
Um,
If what do you think that in that scenario, regardless of what you're doing with your girlfriend there or anything, it is a belly dance. It wasn't a lap dance, and he's tipping her. It was Shekinah being real here.
All look, all I can say as a former cocktail waitress myself, as someone who as a young lady served drinks in a, let's say, low cut and revealing outfit, um
Famously.
famously, you don't really see customers as people after a while. You just see the tip money and you go for the most likely person in the room to reach into their pockets. And it's not going to be that, couple of older gals who were sitting in the corner there. It's going to be the man in the room who is presumably paying for the meal. That's who you go for.
And this time, maybe the man paying for the meal who also has cameras following him.
Yes. That's another, so look, the crux of
Yeah.
this is that Shekinah's been contacted by a couple of women who Sarper has had previous involvements in. She meets with one of them who's very pretty, and listens to her, hears her out, doesn't contradict her about the story. What I'm not clear on with this is what's the point? Are you gathering information so that you can then ignore it and marry him like we all know is what you're going to do? Or like what is the point of this?
I mean, I think the point of this is to create drama with Sarper.
All right.
All right. I mean, like, right? No, no, no. And this is like this is all show related because what is is Shekinah is a smart person. You know, we've established that. We think, she's educated. She knows what she's doing. I don't personally believe that Shekinah thinks she's going to unearth anything from speaking to an ex girlfriend of Sarper's who's going to talk shit about him and say, he told me this, he told me that. I don't know that Shekinah really thinks that that has a bearing on her relationship. I feel like this to me, it's just how I was reading this, and we'll see if it changes in the next episode. But just felt like Shekinah kind of wants to make Sarper a bit uncomfortable because he hates all of this. And I don't think she really feels she's going to learn anything new.
The only other thing that I have to add, and this was in the wrong section of the notes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, this was a question for you, Jack. Um, do we think that the translator app had to convert Turkish to English to LA, specific dialogue, and vice versa?
You mean like because we went out to LA and we had tacos here at LA last night, and then does this have to get translated more to something like this, where we had hot dogs last night, or hot dogs, tacos last night? Yes, I agree with you because Shekinah, who's not from LA originally, has done a fantastic job of becoming an Angelino to the point where she sounds like she's born and bred here. And it has a little bit of that vacant dead eyes voice that is very popular here.
Funnily enough, we did go out for tacos last night.
Yes.
Not the source of my stomach problems, incidentally, in case any of you were worried. This is a pre existing thing. Um, the service was terrible, and we were sat next to two young ladies who were both talking like
Oh
this.
my God.
That sounds so bad. That hurts so
I
much.
know. I know.
It's like so bad. I just appreciate having someone on television who speaks even slower than I do. Like that's really that's a comfort.
Yeah, but you're gathering your information to like get it out clear for everybody. She's just taking her time.
Yeah, but I've got time for Shekinah. I the horrors of her life, which we are never going to go into.
She has a real rough backstory.
Yeah, I'm sure those of you who know what I'm talking about. I'm never going to lean on her too hard. I That's unfathomable to me. as even as a survivor myself. So, I give her some room.
So do
I don't
I.
dislike her.
Either do I. And as we wrap on them, I just want to say, and look, I think some of this is, I have no knowledge of this. I would bet money that they are both within 10 miles of us where we're sitting right now. Like, I'm sure they're together and I'm sure he's here. And I just say that because while I find some of this storyline kind of repetitive with Sarper and where he is, I am very much here for Sarper experiencing Los Angeles and Shekinah getting to be
Oh,
home. Like, I am very, if
I
we,
would love that.
like, gang, if we can get that this season, like, I'd be so thrilled for the back nine of
I
the
need to
season.
find out where, at least on Instagram, like where she's been hanging out, and
You
we
want to
need to do
go, you want to
some.
go semi stock?
Yeah, I just like to know in case we can spot them in the wild. I want Sarper to discover tacos and hiking, and minor inconveniences.
Do you want him to count the steps like up Runyon Canyon or something like that?
Yeah. I want them to go up to the observatory. I want him to go to Straws and Bows ice cream.
Salt and straw for people familiar.
A really charming part of my neurodivergence
It
is
is
that
charming.
it is charming for most people who have to who have the pleasure of knowing me. I cannot, for the life of me, remember given names of places, or TV shows, or sometimes people.
My favorite one being, if anyone's familiar with the Comedy Central show with Adam Devine and the gang, Workaholics. Michelle, what's that show called?
It's called Mechanics, Jack.
See, but that's endearing, right, gang? If it's Workaholics, but Michelle's calling it Mechanics, and then everyone knows, okay, Mechanics, we know what she's talking about.
And like recently, Mendocino Farms is now Montecito
Yes, but
Farms.
I told you that's your English showing because I think you just see that and you're like Prince Harry, Montecito Farms.
That's where we're going this weekend, right?
Montecito?
Yeah, you said it's like the cheapest area,
It's pretty
and
low key, low cost, and like they welcome people who are just from LA like all the time. Just please come up north.
yeah, Oprah said we could roll by. Um, On to James and Tata. I want to get the biggest thing. Again, we're not going to go into the nitty gritty. James looks like he's been transported via shipping container for 40 days. I cannot even conceive. I mean, what people will do for love. This is staggering. I mean, I don't know what I would have done, again, before, after 35.
Right, right.
Um, but I could never do this. I would just be absolutely shattered. That would scar me for life. Just this level
The
of roughing it travel.
So you're talking because now we see, and this is one of the longest haul journeys. At least, look, we don't always get the right view of the non-American what their travel is like. From the American side, this is one of the most brutal stretches of travel we've ever seen, and they barely show us any. But I'll just say he gets on a bus in Portland, Maine. Presumably, I'm assuming he takes that bus to Logan International in Boston. That's the closest major international airport to him. That's a couple of hours. Then he switched somewhere in Europe or
Turkey.
oh, it
Turkey
was
was
okay.
the
Oh, that was the switch. Okay,
yeah.
switches in Turkey. That's I mean I don't know what is that about 14 hours
Oh,
flying
way
time?
more than that.
More.
Way
Okay,
more than that. That's got to be like 20 hours.
close to it,
Yeah.
right? And then after that, he then takes a connecting flight, presumably, I hope, directly to Indonesia, But then, and what I asked you, and we don't have a full answer. If anyone has an answer to this, please let us know. Was this the first train station meetup in 90-day history?
No, it wasn't,
Okay.
because John and Rachel, your favorite hashtag follow our fairy tale couple, they did meet at Paddington Station. I remember he did not meet her at the airport. He met her at a train station.
Okay. Okay.
So,
But would you say, okay, is I just, in terms of like the roughing it, I'm just no judgment here. I'm just saying I wonder if the train in, I guess, rural Indonesia might have been a little
yeah,
rougher than taking
definitely.
the
Then the
train.
Heathrow Express, which is lovely.
Yes.
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 Um, this is, I know this isn't going to end well, but when you get these little punctuated moments of young love, it really, I think there's a place for this in this franchise, and it's so rarely filled, you know? These two really are crazy in love with each other.
Let me ask you this, because I don't disagree that they're, crazy about each other, but James is so crazy about her and so in love that he's doing this crazy trip to get there to her. They're hugging. It's a really beautiful, she jumps into his arms. It's a lovely moment, but we know he doesn't want kids. He's been hiding this from her. That's what her parents want. And we have, oh, just one of the greatest, like, heartwarming tropes, where the person who's not American, or American, either way, regardless, one person tells their family, like, oh, it's like a 10-day visit, and then doesn't really tell in this case, doesn't tell James that's the case. And I'm sure James is going to get surprised by this.
Yes. I also have a hard time believing that James is viewing this as a permanent move.
Why? He took a backpack, Michelle.
I just I think I think he's traveled enough and been enough places that he knows this is a Hail Mary play, okay? Where I think he is probably hoping that she's going to see how difficult their life is going to be, particularly also I understand that. So Tatha shares with us, the audience, that as the youngest child, she's responsible for taking care of the parents. I've never quite understood the position of, oh, I'm old, I need you to take care of me, but also I need you to have a baby immediately.
Right.
Because I just wanted to say to the mom, like, Jack, you have a Jewish mother, um, who
A
takes
Jewish Sicilian mother. So,
a Jewish Sicilian mother, a pizza bagel mom. Um, and my mother is Catholic, Irish Catholic, so I know we know a thing or two about guilt and
and
martyrdom,
they know 10 things or two about guilt.
and they yes. What's your take on this seemingly mixed message of stay with me and never leave and take care of me forever, but also give me 17 grandchildren?
It is a classic finger trap. It is a catch 22. It is an I want this, but also never leave situation. It is very reminiscent of Jewish mothers, in my experience. I think, specifically, though, joking aside, I think this is the type of thing where it's like, and we learn in Indonesian culture, it is common for the youngest child to take care of the parents, as opposed to a lot of other cultures, it's the oldest child. And this one, it's the youngest. Tata is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. It's, she wants to experience her life, but at the same time, as soon as she starts to express anything, and this isn't even about leaving, this is about James coming to visit there, as far as they know. Um, and her mother says that I want grandchildren more than anything, like you said, but also you're like destroying me, ripping my heart out, setting it on fire. eating it. Like it's all of this like hyperbolic stuff where
You are turning my heart into a banana chip.
yes, yes, yes. A raw cut banana chip. And, I think this seriously goes to show that we are all somewhat connected in this world because, look, we just mentioned a bunch of different cultures and something in common, all severe guilt tripping and questions that have no answers because I've had these things with my mom, not to this degree, but I could picture my mother doing something like this when I was younger and then be like, okay, so you want kids and you never want me to date or leave, but you want grandchildren. Like, how is that going to work, mother dearest? And I think the real thing is, it's like, let me ask you this. Do you think that if Tata was to say, hey, we're married, things are going, or we're getting married, however it's going to work, and we're going to have children and we're staying here, not even going to a bigger place in Indonesia, we're staying in the hometown here, would the mom be happy or would she be upset?
I don't know. She just looks very tired to me.
Well, I wonder too, how much of this is like exhaustion? I mean, I don't know how old they are, but that looks like they have a bit of a hard life that they
They're
live,
probably about 5 years older than we are,
or 5 years younger, as we
or
found out
five
on some
years
of
younger.
these.
Um, Lily and Josh. Um,
I can't, I can't not laugh at this. This is going in so many directions, and I kept standing by Josh, getting like very worried about like this situation as it was unfolding. You told me you had your hesitations and reservations about him. Then, for anyone who's listened to, or who knows our comments about Ramona Singer from Real Housewives of New York, Josh is doing Ramona eyes.
Josh absolutely has Ramona eyes.
Show the viewers the Ramona. Thanks, Michelle.
Those are peak Ramona eyes. I just want to say this ear cleaning, which I'm very interested in because I am a stalwart Q-tip user, cotton swab
We're actually
user.
a full proper or improper Q-tip using duo here.
Yeah. I always have been, always will be. I don't care that the doctor says don't do it. I do it in a correct
So
way
do I.
that doesn't cause any problems. So, um, I'm just saying for someone with misophonia, it's an
Yes.
interesting choice for anyone with sensitivities around sound or the ear area, but it was nice and relaxing. I am more firmly and deeply entrenched in my position more than ever now that he is a bit of a sneaky one. I think he is using, I'm not saying he knows more Chinese than he's letting on or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I do think he is using the these misunderstandings as a way to get out of things that he's previously agreed to.
So let me just ask you on this because we were talking about this, like in regards to what is going on in the show there with the wedding, where Josh is kind of saying like, "Hey, I was just saying like, yeah, it would be nice to have like whatever wedding would be nice for you." And then Lily seems very like, I mean, it doesn't feel like she's making it up because she's saying, no, you wanted like the very specific traditional Chinese wedding that has a lot of guests and is extremely expensive. Do you feel, because I immediately thought like, okay, translation breakdown here, he's saying I want a traditional wedding, he's not realizing that if you say that to her it's going to be, all right, traditional here is very expensive and large, but is this where some of that phoniness comes in according to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is, come on, he's been married and divorced twice. This is
Oh, I keep forgetting that.
absolutely a man who will promise you the earth and then say, "Oh, that's what you meant? I thought you meant this other thing." even if I could give him a pass on this, and even if I could say, all right, fine, plausible deniability, right? Even if I thought there was a shred of that, it's still too, when somebody has a fetish and is fetishizing a whole culture and is really kind of holding on to that, I don't know, it grosses me out a little bit.
Were you talking at all? How did this strike you? Just, I'm not rewinding, but just this one take when he wakes up and he's like talking about like, oh God, I I live in China now. I live in China. Did that seem genuine to you, or do you think that's part of this potential? I don't want to call it sinister, but ulterior vibe.
I don't think he has an ulterior motive for being there. I just think he's got a big heart on for China.
Okay, a
And
fetishization at all,
yes, and he
perhaps.
likes
Okay.
the fact that that when they go out, everyone stares at him, and he likes kind of feeling like a celebrity. I'm also not buying his financial situation because I'm fairly certain that he probably, even if he had to split it two ways, he probably made a decent amount off of that house sale. And he definitely has a trust fund because his parents are super rich and live in a tax haven.
Oh, yes, they
So,
do.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay, so all of that, I will say, just like open to amending my opinions on this program. I was wondering about how long until Josh's cracks started to show. So that was about 4 episodes for
we'll
me.
see. I was amused by the fact that Lily said, from now on, we're starting a new day. Because all I could think in that moment was she literally means that she's secured the passports and IDs and cash needed to outrun the loan shark that is coming for her kneecaps. Um,
When you just said that, I can picture that like half built empty mall that they live in, just sort of like, the hero shot where they're both walking away as it's like crumbling on fire,
yeah,
collapsing.
totally. Yep. Um, Now, I think she was put up to this happy ending massage happy. It's an ugly stereotype that I will not dignify on this program with a response. I will say there is nothing more romantic than making a hole with your one hand and a pointer finger with your other and using that to convey your desire to.
Oh my God, wait a second. Are you suggesting that that's not how I should beckon Diana when I'm feeling amorous?
Well, it seems to work. So,
To each their own. Check it out.
you have lured many Cape Cod wasp maidens to their downfall with your with your style of flirting. So, who am I to criticize, right? Look,
Thank you for that, Michelle.
we've had a lot of fun. Again, thank you for your patience this week. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps discoverability. It'll help us widen our reach. The sooner we get to critical mass, the sooner we can go on tour and have live shows and meet you and do fun things and fundraisers and all of these other things that we've tried to do on a smaller scale that we wish we could do more of. Yes, yes, yes to all of it. Manifest it. My name is Michelle, and there is no world that can keep us apart.
My name's Jack, and I'm really confident that there's no world that can keep us apart as long as I'm soft partnering you.
Oh, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the listeners, but
I was
presumably
talking to
you were
the
talking to the
listeners
listeners too.
too.
All right. We love you.
We love you.
That's it.
That's it.